So guys, I have just started recording of this particular session, and this is for your consent that I will be sharing this particular recorded session via YouTube to every one of you, right? So I'm going to share my screen. If you, please let me know if you are able to see it.
Yes, sir. We able to see.
Great, good to know. Okay, so first of all, let us try to understand when we talk about cloud computing. So guys, is there any idea about, like, anyone has some idea like what is cloud computing?
Using internet, all resource like CPU, memory, disk on demand.
Okay, that is cloud computing. Good. Any other one would like to add anything?
A provision of IT resources.
It is a center.
Okay, guys, just give me a moment. Getting a call from office. Just a moment. Yes, guys. So when we are talking about cloud computing, so okay, any other one who has any other thought rather than this?
Sir, it is a centralized data hub. Suppose if you are working in a remote system, then that data that you are saving or whatever the work that you are doing is confined to that system. But if you make that data centralized, then you can use that data or whatever the functions that you want to access to anywhere, irrespective of what system that you are using. So for that, we have a cloud. We just store all our data there so that it can be accessible. Just we need our that username and uh, password so that we can access it to the any system.
Okay, great. Sounds good. So let us note all the points what you guys are going to say. Okay, Shrikant, any thought of it?
Vinayak this side. As per me, like provisioning the IT resources, like as one of our team members said, CPU, memory, virtually, like on cloud. We can say it is a cloud computing. Like physically, we are using the
provisioning IT resources.
Yeah.
Okay.
Physically, in traditional way, we are using our laptops and machines, and the data is getting stored on our computer's hard disk. But we need to purchase the physical machine for that. But over here, we are like using virtual resources, and virtually we are launching the machines and servers and using the resources as per our convenience, and it is like flexible. Whenever we want, we can use, and whenever we don't, we can stop it. And we are getting the almost each and every cloud service provider giving the service, like pay as per use. Like whatever you are using, we need to pay as per that. Like if any company want to launch website or any server, then in traditional way they need to set up all the servers. Like physically they need to buy the data center. They need to provision the data center, like all the hard disks and servers and all. But in this cloud computing, we are launching our web server or application on the cloud and utilizing that resources for launching our application or websites likewise. And we are saving cost in this sense. Like if my application or a website is not getting response that much, then I can stop it. Like, and I cannot afford that much cost to provision the entire data center. If physically I would have to provision the entire data center, then that cost will be more, and that cost will get waste if my website or application is not getting that much response. So
Okay, wait,
this cloud is
Vinayak.
good.
Okay, let us take it other way. So let
Okay.
us say if you are hired in any organization and if I have to ask you to host a website, right? And you have a free hand to purchase or to share a list of components what you need in order to host a website. So what particular components will you need in order to host a website? Let us assume we are expecting 1000 TPS, 1000 like transaction per second.
Okay.
What all components will you need? Yes, please go ahead. Let us note it down.
And as per me, like in
First,
traditional
we need
way,
a data center.
Okay, let
Yeah.
us let note it down. Data center.
Routers.
Okay, one more thing. When you talk about like routers and other components, so please keep on adding configuration as well. Like what router would you need over here?
Not that much.
Okay, not a problem. So server we will need. Someone wrote like in chat servers. Okay, then
Database.
Networking.
so I must say networking is just a concept. Networking is not anything which has anything to do with data center. So we will need routers and switches.
Probably we need ACs to keep temperature in control.
AC, racks where we are going to mount the servers.
Yes, and DG sets probably if any power failure is there.
Okay, power backup.
Power back.
Okay, what else?
Manpower too.
balancers.
Manpower, what else?
Load balancer.
Load balancers, good.
Strong internet connection. We can get
Means,
like
rather than calling it strong internet, we should call it ISP, Internet Service Provider.
Right.
Okay, what else?
A DNS registrar.
Wow, good. Yes.
DNS registrar, great.
Government permission.
Okay. So rather than calling it government certification, it is known as certification because we have to get multiple certifications in order to run a data center. Why it is so? Because you will be needing certificate that you have logical security implemented, you have physical security implemented. You will have to submit a report to environment committee that EC, like environment clearance certificate you will need, right? That okay, how much power you are going to consume, how much heat it is going to generate, what is your plan of power consumption, how much you will be using solar power, how much you will be using generator power and electricity power. Everything you will have to give you will have to write in detail when you will be submitting and you will be looking for a certification. So guys, let me tell you one thing: data center purchase or maybe like hiring a building, very easy. Router, switch, AC, rack, server, database, everything is very easy. But when it comes to certification, this is the most difficult part in order to set up a data center, right? Because a very good thing is that government, department, and timely work does not suit together, right, guys?
Yes.
Government, department, and timely work. These are two things which cannot be written together. That we are going to government department and we are going to getting all the things in time. Okay, not a problem. So these are the particular things which we need. And guys, how can we forget about firewalls?
Yes. Firewall is must.
Firewalls we need. Then after when we talk about like physical security, like manpower we need. So we need physical as well as logical security. For physical security, we have manpower. For logical security, we have firewall. Right? Then after, in order to prevent our website from like different type of attacks, we will need to have some sort of web. web application firewall. These are a special type of firewalls which are especially used to manage and handle and to secure your specific requirement of website, such as, let me give you an example, that there is a particular hacker trying to hack your website. So what do you want? Let us say that a person should not be able to hit your website 20 times in a single minute, because if it is a human being, the human being can actually not hit any website more than 20 times in a single minute. And ideally, if a person is actually working something on your website, then maximum 3 hits a minute a user can send, usually, because the user has to wait, user has to read the context and everything. But if it is more than that, then it means like it is some sort of bot or it is some sort of hacking activity which are going to take place in your environment. Now, for example, if a person is trying to hack, so like different components are there. Let us say it could be your man in the middle attack. It could be your cross-site scripting attack. It could be your like DDoS attack, DOS attack, like any sort of attack could be there. In order to prevent these sort of attacks, we need to have additional firewall, which is known as web application firewall. Right, guys? So these are the particular things we want. But
What about storage?
okay, so when we call
Data
about
centers.
like when we call about servers, so servers like storage server can also be part of this.
Okay.
Yeah. So guys, when we are talking about this particular thing, still there is a particular thing which we all have missed. The particular, you guys said that data center. So how much space do you need? Maybe a single room, maybe double room set, maybe, for example, we are going to talk about like single BHK, double BHK, 2 BHK, 3 BHK, 4 BHK, or like you need only halls, right? For example, we forgot, like, okay, we talked about routers, but how many routers do we want? Will it work only with one router? It is going to work with 2 routers, 3, 4, 5, 6, n number of routers. We forgot about that. If we talk about switches, so how many switches? Switches are there are like different type of switches like L2 switches, L3 switches, right? So there is a variety of switches available. So what kind of switches do we need to purchase? Right? Moreover, like if we have 2 routers, then how many switches will be supported by that router? Right? When we are talking about AC, so where like what is the capacity of these ACs in order to like keep the particular, for example, that particular room, or you can call that hall, or the particular location where all the routers, switches, and servers are placed, right?
Correct.
When we talk about like racks, so are these wall-mounted racks or are these like standalone racks? These are going to be mounted on the floor. So what sort of racks do we need? We discussed about everything. Moreover, how many number of racks do we need? Moreover, when we are talking about like heat generation servers, when these servers are running, these are really power consuming like equipments, and these generates good enough amount of heat, right? So when this particular heat is generated, so for example, if because of excess heat generation, some server goes down, so do we have a backup plan? Like if one server goes down, then how we are going to replace that server by another server, and also how we are going to ensure this thing that the particular running website on that server which has gone down, which is not accessible right now. So how we are going to mitigate that risk? How we are going to minimize that risk? We did not consider that, right? Moreover, when we are talking about firewall, so guys, we discussed about it that yes, we need firewall. But what type of firewall it is? Is it going to do only content filtering? For example, I don't know that how many of you are aware of like how does firewall work? But let me tell you a couple of examples here. For example, there is a particular port number 22. 22 port number is used for SSH, and SSH is a protocol which is basically used in order to log into a remote server. That could be server, that could be computer, that could be any other device. So just in a nutshell, you can think of like we are trying to log into a remote server. A remote machine is there, and we are trying to log into that. We are trying to access that machine. So that remote access taken activity is performed with the help of SSH protocol, and that runs on port number 22. Right, guys? Okay.
Okay.
So if we want to allow or if we want to block the traffic, so that can be done with the help of web, like web application firewall. But let us say if I want that I do not want only this, but I want, let us say, if a particular user or if a particular person who is trying to access our website, and in a particular browser or the particular URL, a person is trying to supply or pass some parameter like username is this and password is this. So it means that it's sort of attack, because by default, an organization does not want its user to supply username and password as part of URL. Right, guys? So if these sort of things are found, so we cannot block these sort of things on firewall level. These sort of things can be blocked at WAF level, which is known as Web Application Firewall. It is going to prevent, it will check each and every incoming request and each and every outgoing request. Based on that, we will be able to block the component. We will be able to block the request, right? Maybe like what is the frequency of that user, like how many times user is trying to access the same URL, right? Maybe a person is trying to clone your entire website onto their laptop. So what are the particular use cases there? So when we are talking about all these things, so this is known as capacity planning.
Okay.
Capacity provisioning. For example, today you are in such a phase that, okay, the particular organization who have which has hired you, right now organization is saying, okay, we are expecting 1000 TPS. Set up the infrastructure in that a way that purchase all the routers, switches, servers, firewall and everything, that we are supposed to have only 1000 TPS. Like TPS stands for transaction per second. Maybe that is incoming request, outgoing request, or maybe like repetition of request. So up to 1000 requests we are supposed to get, maybe in peak hours, in non-peak hours, or maybe in regular basis, right? So you just calculated couple of things. You purchased couple of web servers, maybe database servers and everything, routers, switches, and maybe like NIC, network interface card, the LAN card, which you call that, right? You purchased that, okay, it is supposed to handle only 1000 TPS. But what happens after a couple of months, you realize, or maybe like let us say you are setting up a new website, new data center. Suddenly what happened? The website got really popular. Now the expectation was that you guys are supposed to get only 1000 hits per second, but right now unwantedly, or maybe because the popularity or the content of that particular website, you have started getting 5000 hits per second. What would happen? You will once again have to go to like market. You will have to purchase additional router switches. You will have to get additional racks in order to mount those servers, like firewall. You will have to plan the capacity of that firewall, that how much traffic can it filter, right? How many databases do you need? The power backup. Earlier you were like running only 3 servers. Right now you have 9, because like the number of traffic has been increased, amount of traffic has been increased. So you will need to have additional. So the main component here is, in order to manage data center, that is capacity provisioning or capacity planning, right? You analyzed for very small amount of traffic, but right now because the particular popularity of website, you are getting a lot of traffic. Second thing, in other way, you thought, okay, let us provision our website by up for like 2000 users. But what happened? The particular content or the particular component which you were planning, so that is not up to the mark. Users are not liking it. What would happen in that particular case? The capacity which you provisioned, that was for 2000 TPS or 2000 concurrent users handling. But what is happening right now? You are getting only 100 or sometimes 150, maximum up to 2000, like 200 users. And there was a single day when you saw like 250 users are accessing your website in concurrent manner. Right, guys? So what is happening right now? You have purchased additional resources, additional servers, and you are not able to consume them. You are actually not able to utilize those resources. So it means you have already paid some sort of amount to AWS or maybe like to your data center, or in order to purchase these sort of resources, which are actually underutilized. You are not utilizing these resources anyhow. Getting point, guys? So this particular thing is known as capacity provisioning. So this is the biggest challenge when we are going to set up a data center. If we over provision, so that is underutilized, and if we under provision, so it means we are actually not able to handle the requests which are coming from our end users. Are we clear with this thing, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So this is known as data center. So this is the particular traditional way when a particular data center administrator used to work on this. And guys, one more thing. When we are talking about like what sort of job you are supposed to get, if you like complete this particular course, so what sort of profiles will be there? because right now there is a buzz of DevOps in market, right guys? But what sort of profiles you can look for? Obviously, I'll not say that you are supposed to go only for this particular thing, but yes, there are a couple of type of profiles which you can go for. The very first profile here is, let me define that here, because we should be knowing like what are the particular areas where we can look for a particular career, right? So the very first thing here is, when we are talking about data center, so data center admin. Over here, what is going to be your job? So let us say if new server is coming in, right? So in order to ensure that that server is mounted properly, that server is being provided with the like proper power supply, that let us say if there is a particular network cable which is cut, maybe due to any human error, or maybe let us say some rats are like running there, any rat may cut the particular like cable which is being used in order to provide connectivity towards that server. If that sort of activities are happening, right guys, so you will have to be responsible. It means you are a particular data center administrator, and guys, you are responsible for doing all the housekeeping activities related to that data center. Are we clear with that, guys? So this is the very first profile which you can look for. Second thing, when we are talking about routers and switches, right? So there is going to be a particular team which is known as network administrator. Network administrator or network team, you can call that, right? So it means there are two different teams who are working. Obviously, if you are working within a small organization, then you are going to be data center administrator, you are going to be network administrator, and moreover, even you are going to be firewall admin. It means you can be part of infra security team. Right, guys? So another component is going to be infrastructure security. It means the particular users who are going to whitelist or blacklist the particular ports, the source and the destinations for individual servers. So this is known as like infra security team. This is known as infra security team. Okay. When we talk about other components, so let us say we are managing different type of databases, and n number of databases are there, right guys? So there will be a separate team which will be managing this physical database, these physical servers in order to run databases. So you can be part of database team. Database admin you can become, right guys? You can become a database administrator. Then after, when we are talking about load balancer and ISP, so you can become like, you can be part of either, like, see, there are two things. Either load balancers can be integrated or can be kept under network segment, or it can be kept as a separate component, right guys? So we can call that like LB admin, because F5 or maybe different type of like load balancers are there. So there are separate administrator kept in order to manage these sort of load balancers, because a single person cannot manage. Like if we are running a particular component or a particular infra of maybe 10,000 servers, 20,000 servers, so a single team can actually not handle that. Moreover, when we are talking about DNS, so yes, DNS team is separate, because this DNS team has to be responsible for not only managing DNS, but AD, Active Directory. It means, let us say if there are 500 users, or there are 5,000 users who are supposed to get in, who are supposed to log into different portals. Maybe it is your salary portal, it is your HR portal, maybe it is your, let us say, ServiceNow tool, it is your Jira, it is your Bitbucket, or whatsoever. So when we are talking about SSO, single sign on, like once you log into one portal, after that, whenever you will try to log into your other portals, so these portals will be logged in automatically, because once you have authenticated with AD stands for Active Directory, right guys? This stands for Active Directory, and this stands for domain name server. So these particular two components can be part of your DNS and AD team. So you can be part of this team as well, DNS team or AD team. Moreover, when we are working in a particular corporate environment, guys, so obviously each and everything, like whenever you log into a particular data center, you enter into it, you let us say you log into a router, you try to change some configuration in a switch. So there is a particular like component which is known as email, right? So email / Outlook, These are although small components, but yes, an organization cannot run without emails. So you can think of becoming a particular email or maybe Outlook administrator as well, or you can call that Office, like Office 365. So over here, you are going to assign access to maybe or like MS Word, MS Office, Excel, PowerPoint, or whatsoever, like different components are there. So you can think of somewhere or the other that you can be part of this particular team as well. Guys, I'm not asking you to join any of these teams, but yes, these are also profiles which are available in market where you can imagine. For example, if you are really not interested in going for like cloud computing environment, you can think of your data center admin, network security, database, load balancer, DNS, email, Outlook, Office 365, that sort of, right? Finally, let us say we are working on virtualization. So there will be a separate team. For example, we have like 10 servers, and over here we need to install some sort of hypervisor. So guys, hypervisor is a software. This is a new terminology. I would like to explain a little about it. So for example, we have a single physical server, and the requirement here is that we need to create maybe like 20 different small virtual machines on the same. So we will need a hypervisor that is going to facilitate in order to create multiple virtual machine on the top of single physical hardware. So there will be like virtual, like VM center. So it could be based on your, you can call that your VMware. It could be Red Hat virtualization, or it could be Citrix virtualization. Anything could be there. So right now, in a nutshell, we are going to call it like VM team. Like wherever, let us say you need to take backup of VMware. For example, not only backup, you need to re-provision a machine. For example, you need to assign IP address, you need to install operating system, right? You need to restore a machine from previously taken backup. So if these sort of activities are involved in a particular organization, so every single team has to play a different role, right guys? Moreover, when we talk about servers, so servers are of different type. Maybe these are hardware, these are virtual machines, these are physical servers. But yes, OS, like operating system, for example, it could be Windows, right? Or it could be Nix, *.nix. It could be Unix, Linux, right? So let us call it Linux itself. So maybe it could be Windows or it could be Linux. So whenever we are working in an organization, so an organization has to ensure that every time, whenever there is a particular operating system installed, so the organization has to ensure that all the softwares which are running inside these operating systems, for example, it is Apache, it is MySQL, or maybe it is anything. So organizations has to ensure that these softwares are latest, these software are up to date. And let us say if for any business requirement, we can actually not use latest software. So these softwares are at least patched, like there should be no security. Like these softwares are free from any sort of vulnerability, right? Are we clear so far, guys?
Yes, sir.
Any questions so far?
Sir, that VM team, if you could please explain that again, VM team wala.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So let us say you are working on VMware, or you are working on like Red Hat or RHEVM, Red Hat Virtualization Manager, or maybe Zen, or maybe you are working with Citrix. So guys, the names which I have defined here, like it is VMware, RHEVM, Red Hat Virtualization Manager, Zen. Zen is another kind of virtualization manager. If anyone of you might have got a chance to work with Red Hat 5. So when it was Red Hat 5 and Red Hat started supporting virtualization, so Zen was the hypervisor's name. The same thing goes with Citrix. Citrix also virtualization manager. So guys, those users or those administrators who are responsible to create virtual machines onto a particular physical server, so those teams are known as VM team, like virtual machine management team. The task of this machine is going to be, let us say, provisioning new machine, taking backup of existing machine. They have to ensure, let us say, if some administrator who are working on this operating system, they have applied some patch, and after patch means like there was a new release of any software that was available. Linux administrator, maybe Windows administrator tried to apply that. And after that, obviously, in order to apply any patch, we have to reboot a server. Patch was applied and server was rebooted. But unfortunately, the particular machine could not come up after reboot. So what would happen in that case? The website will stop working. Everything will stop working on that particular server. So now this Unix team or this Windows team may raise a request to VM team. Okay, do one thing. Please restore the machine's last backup available, or you can call that the latest backup available. So it could be possible different team has different SLAs for taking backup. It could be daily, it could be weekly, it could be monthly. So whatever latest backup is available, VM team will be responsible to restore the backup in order to serve the website as it was working before patching activity. Are we clear so far, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So guys, why we are discussing this, although this is actually not part of your the particular session which we call it like AWS, but yes guys, for example, if you are going to work as an AWS administrator, so you should be knowing that what was the journey of those users, those administrators who used to work as Linux admin, AWS, your data center administrator, network administrator. Right now, all the teams are working. Let me tell you this thing, guys. All the teams are working, but we are actually not aware of those teams. Why it is so? Because we are not moving into data center. We are not setting physical network. We are not taking care of infrastructure security in terms of we are not allowing any person to stand outside of the data center to verify identity of the people who are entering into data center. So we are not looking into that. Why it is so? Because right now we are not working with physical data centers. We are working with the particular term which is really popular, which is a buzz today, and that is known as cloud. And that's what we started this discussion for, like cloud computing. This is known as cloud. So guys, obviously when it comes to cloud, so there will be like AWS admin team, right? So we will be talking about AWS admin team. What are going to be roles? What sort of tasks we have to perform and everything we will be taking care of. Right, guys? So if I ask you now, like what is cloud computing environment, guys? So we need to understand two things. Like an interface like this. Do you see this interface here, guys? This is an interface. Like for example, if I want to click this image, I have an option to drag and drop. For example, if I have to say that I need to show some user, right? So this is an actor for me. I can define that here. For example, if I would define a particular server, so I can define, I'll look here for server, and there will be a couple of images made available for me. I can draw anything here. So I hope I make sense here, right? So this is an interface, like user interface. This is a user interface. So it means if I have to explain cloud in very simplified manner, so an interface like this, or maybe if you want, definitely I can walk you through AWS console as well. Just a moment, guys. Yes. So here we are. So guys, when we are talking about like an interface, obviously right now we are at like AWS interface only. So an interface like this, where all the resources are available. So what are the all resources? Like we are talking about data center, router, switch, AC, rack, and like all the like component listed down here. So an interface like this, where all the resources are available to keep your infrastructure up and running. And now what is your infrastructure? Let us say you are serving a website for e-commerce, right? Or maybe you are into like SaaS platform, software as service you are providing. So an interface where all the resources are available to keep your infrastructure up and running. That is known as cloud computing. Are we clear, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. One more thing we can add here. Like if this is clear to you, we would like to add one more thing here. And what is that? So guys, we will have to explain in such a way, like an interface where all the resources are available on demand. Keep this thing in mind. On demand is a major keyword here. And why is that so, guys? Because let us say right now I have requirement to have only one EC2 machine with 1 CPU and 2 GB of RAM, or maybe 2 CPU or 2 GB of RAM. That is available for me. That machine started serving my customers, but immediately what happened? Maybe after an hour or so, maybe after a day or two, maybe after a month or so, the particular server got exhausted. The resources basically which are lying there, which are supposed to be serving end users, so these are exhausted. We need more resources here. What would be done in that case? Either we can have one more EC2 machine available right away. We can have one more virtual machine available, or what we can do, we are given some sort of option that within existing hardware stack, within existing virtual machine, we shall be able to add more resources. So rather than having 2 CPU and 4 GB of RAM, we can have 8 CPU and maybe 16 GB of RAM. Right, guys? Moreover, let us say in a hypothetical manner, so if network was becoming a bottleneck, like this is a particular user and this is a server, right? So this user was trying to download a lot of data, and this user is authentic. This user is genuine. So if this server has a capacity that it can transfer only, let us say 100 Mbps. If the server has capacity to download or to allow to access 100 Mbps data per second, but this user has a requirement to download data maybe of 200 MB. So it means inter-process communication. Moreover, when we are talking about like this server is supposed to communicate with other servers as well. So CPU is free, RAM is available, hard disk is available, but network has become a bottleneck on this particular machine, right? So we have a particular capacity. We are given that sort of mechanism that we can increase this network capacity as well, right? Are we clear with that, guys? So on this particular cloud platform, we can not only select the number of CPUs, we can not only select number of GB of RAM, the amount of hard disk, or we are given exceptionally the particular permission to select that interface, or you can call that network access card, NIC, network interface card, which is known as. So we can opt a LAN card with a specific network capacity. Are we clear so far, guys? And all the resources are available on demand. So guys, if now someone has to explain what is cloud computing, so will you be able to explain that?
Yes.
Guys, I can ask, do not just say I have, like, obviously I'm a teacher from old school. So if I teach something, I can ask the person the same thing, right? So I would like to ask if you guys say that, yes, you are aware of it and you have understood. So shall I ask anyone?
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask, there is a person known as Ramesh. Ramesh, what is cloud computing? If you understood the concept.
Yeah, cloud computing, it's a combination of the all the infrastructure, network, network equipment, then hardware, then all that of that means the required things for to data center.
Okay. So once again, let me come on to it. So guys, see, we have to keep it short and simple. Until and unless a person is going to ask you, okay, what are all resources? Need not to explain that, because let us say if you just make a list of maybe 3 to 4 letters, router, switch, AC, the person can ask, okay, what about firewall? So do you would you like to have firewall in a separate manner? Right, guys? So do not include any component until and unless it is asked during interview. Why is that so? Because the person can involve you in like further activities. Okay, what about WAF? Like WAF, will you have that in your data center or not? What about ISP? How many number of ISPs you are going to have? So these sort of question may occur. These sort of question may be asked if you go into some sort of like n number of calculation you are going to like perform when you are explaining about the infrastructure architecture, right? Okay, so in a nutshell, what we are going to say, so cloud computing is an interface where all the resources like this, we are not going to name these, where all the resources are available to keep your infrastructure available, right? And these resources are available on demand. If we want extra resources, we can have. If we want to release the resources, so we can. That is known as cloud computing. Any questions so far, guys? If you have, I would love to answer.
Like what we explained in traditional manner, the small question like the load balancer is also available like in hardware, or it is also logical.
So until and unless there is a particular soft like hardware load balancer available, we shall not be able to get any traffic which is coming from internet directly. But yes, when we are talking about like there are different type of software, like we have HA proxy, we have Nginx, we have Apache, and there are different softwares which can be used as a software load balancer as well. But yes, when we talk about load balancer, so it is considered to be a physical load balancer only.
Okay.
Yes. So guys, are we clear so far? Any questions? Any doubt, any question?
So nothing from my side.
Great.
No question, sir.
Sir, I have one question.
Please go ahead, Jitendra.
Means, you know, as you said, the interviewer can ask you, means which kind of load balancer you are using or which kinds of database you are using in your project. If some interviewer asks us, means for which company, means which product you are working, and if you are from, you know, non-cloud and you want to switch to the cloud network, so what we told them means for which company I am working for, means
Okay,
which
great.
product I am working for.
Pretty question, buddy. I would love to answer that. After completion of this particular course, you shall be able to prove that yes, you are working on a cloud platform which is known as AWS at least for last 3 years. All the components which a person may ask you during interview related to AWS, you shall be knowing each and everything. Now, in that particular case, you are not going to like display anything out of this. Like you are not going to say, okay, you know that what is data center, what is router, what is series of router, how many ACs are there? Nothing. You will say, I do not know anything out of this. This is nothing for you. This is a blank page. You do not understand the like architecture of data center. Maybe the particular component which are available here, you are not aware of these. You will be talking about AWS components. For example, if a person is going to ask you, okay, what type of load balancer do you use? So there are different type of load balancers available. You will explain any of those. Why would you say you are using F5 load balancer or maybe any other type of load balancer? If someone is going to ask you like, what firewall do you work with? You will say that I do not manage firewall. I use security groups. So remove the particular components from your resume, that anything which may put you in a like hot soup, in a trouble sort of thing, right? So you need to mention only cloud computing environment in place of existing like architecture. You will not say anything about data center. You will speak only about cloud computing environment. The particular level of information which we are going to get after completion of this particular session, that will be up to like at least 3 to 5 years of experienced person. Moreover, I will consider that you guys do not know anything about cloud computing environment, and I will bring this particular batch from very basic like level. Right, guys? If you know, that is good. If you do not know, so I do not think that yes, you know anything about it. I will begin the batch from very scratch. Okay. So guys, now when we understand about cloud computing concept, so now we need to understand one more thing. What are the type of cloud computings do we have? What are the types of cloud computing environment we have? So guys, there are 3 basically. First of all, we have a particular type of cloud which is known as public cloud. Let us try to understand that. First of all is known as public cloud. Second one is known as private cloud. Let us define here like private. Right, guys? So guys, what is difference between public and private cloud? Anyone would like to answer this? What is difference between public and private cloud?
Public clouds means anyone can use, like AWS and Azure, they are public cloud.
Okay.
And private clouds are those means which you know, in resource you cannot access those, like for any bank website, HDFC or some banks are using their own cloud
I can
for
access,
managing.
I can access
users.
HDFC Bank. I can access HDFC Bank's website.
You can access your HDFC Bank website, but you can't access the employee details of each and every access. So for managing some, you know, confidential information, they also using some private infrastructure.
I mean to say,
Around.
sir, some enterprise has owned the rights to access that particular cloud. I mean to say, it is not
There is
publicly
some gap.
available.
There is some gap. Okay, anyone? Giri?
So public cloud is something which is accessible for internet, and private cloud is not accessible for publicly from internet.
Federal government are private? No, actually. I would not say that federal government are private. We'll come on to it, because even cloud computing environment is also going to provide some sort of like governance cloud model. So these are different concepts. We will discuss about it. That's why we are here.
Private,
Yeah. Hello.
private cloud, we can say like it is a private company's cloud, like they are managing their data center, and others are like all they are managing their own, their self. And public, we can say these are the public, like we are get infrastructure, or we are getting like software as a service from the cloud service provider, like these AWS or GCP. These are the publics, we can
Okay,
like as
wait.
per me.
Now let me, please. Thank you. So now, guys, what I'm going to say, just listen to me very carefully, because it is really required in order to go for cloud computing environment. So let us say there is one user, right? And let us say there are two users. Let us have one more, right? So there may be different type of cloud computing platform available, such as we have AWS, like which stands for Amazon Web Services, Azure. This is a particular product of Microsoft. GCP is a product, like Google Cloud Platform is a product of Google. IBM Cloud is a product of IBM. Digital Ocean is a separate player, but yes, like playing very good role in terms of cloud computing, right? Then after, you may think of like Nextra Data, you can think of your NetMagic. Like these are some sort of example of these are providing services to their customers. But what happens here? Let us say we are talking about AWS. So let us take example of that only. So for example, there is a particular physical server. This is a host. Guys, there are a couple of terms which we are definitely going to use. So host stands for physical server. Just like your laptop, the particular laptop which you have in your hand right now, which you can touch, that is known as physical server, right? So this physical server, or we can now call it host. So this host has, let us say, 128 CPU, right? And let us say 256 GB of RAM. I guess we all are aware of these particular two terminologies, like RAM and CPU. 128 CPU and 256 GB of RAM this particular server has. Aside to this server has, let us say, 5 TB of disk associated. Right, guys? Aside to that, this particular server has like 5 Gbps NIC. NIC stands for network interface card, like LAN card you can think of, right? This is the hardware capacity of this particular physical host or physical server, you can call that. Now, this particular server is kept inside a public cloud environment. User one comes into picture. Let us say there is a particular environment known as AWS, right? So the user creates an account over here on AWS, such as, let us say, user1.example.com. This is the user ID of this user. User ID, user one like came into picture, and user created one virtual machine on this particular physical hardware. Right? So configuration here is, let us say 2 CPU and 4 GB of RAM, and let us say like 20 GB of disk, and let us say like 50 MB network speed this particular machine has. So I guess we all are aware of it, like what is this, like 2, 4, 20, 50, 2 CPU, 4 GB of RAM, 20 GB of hard disk, and 50 Mbps is a network speed. This machine, this user has created. Now, this user has the requirement to create another virtual machine. But right now, what this user did, user came, login, like created an account on AWS and created a machine wherein the user wanted to have, let us say, 4 CPU, for example, 16 GB of RAM, and over here the user wanted to have, let us say, 200 GB of disk and only 10 Mbps of network speed. Right? Now, this user has a different user ID. This user has a different user ID. Both users have created the virtual machine onto the same physical server, but neither this user will know like who else have created a machine on the same physical hardware. Neither this user will know about any other users. This is known as shared hardware model. Like a physical hardware is available, and you guys are just going to use the same physical hardware, like without knowing that who else is also using or is accessing the hardware resources of the same physical hardware. That is known as public cloud model. This is shared cloud model. This is shared hardware model. And let us say in hypothetical manner, if the third user also comes into picture, so this user can also come and can create another machine over here. Till the time the capacity on this particular physical server is available, users may keep on coming and keep on creating the resources on this machine. Now, let us say after a month, this user went away. This machine was terminated. So some new user came into picture. User created an account on AWS, and the machine was replicated once again in the name of some other user. Are we clear with this thing, guys? Like in public cloud, anyone can create their account onto a like resource provider onto CSP platform. CSP stands for, what is CSP, guys?
Cloud service provider.
Great. So this is known as cloud service provider. So this stands for cloud service provider. So first of all, you will have to sign up. You will have to create your own account onto service providers platform. Then after, you have to log into that platform. Only after that you will be allowed to create resources into that particular platform.
Sir, I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Sir, you said anyone can create its own services, right? Can use the services, but he cannot alter the configurations, right?
So, for example, right now you created a machine with 4 CPU and 16 GB of RAM. So you will be allowed to modify the resources of this. Like let us say you felt maybe after a couple of days that the amount of RAM which you have allocated to this machine is not being used properly. There is no consumption. So what will you do? So you will reset the amount of resources. You will have to take a reboot of this machine, and you will be able to reconfigure the hardware configuration.
Right.
So you are completely free.
Okay, sir. Okay. That's what I was.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's talk about private cloud. So what does it mean, private cloud? So for example, we can think of like NetMagic. We can think of Nextra Data. We can think of maybe any other data center which every single organization has. So over there are maybe, let us say, 5 or maybe 10 virtual like VM administrators. Only those users are allowed to create, delete, take backup, restore the particular virtual machines in their data center. For example, if you talk about any individual company's data center, there is very limited number of people from the same organizations who are allowed to log into the data center. Maybe if you are a CEO, maybe if you are a CTO, or whatsoever is your position. So first of all, you will have to give in writing that today you are having a plan to visit data center. Otherwise, you will not be allowed to logging into that. Because all the data centers have a separate access card to log into that room, which is known as data center. For example, there is a particular building consists of 10 stories, right? 2 stories are reserved for data center. So everyone who will need to log in or who will need to enter into that particular building premises, right? So they, like all the users will need to have a separate access card in order to log into that building. Your data centers are really secure. Are we clear with that? So if we are talking private, so a user will need to have some sort of user ID. A user will need to have additional access card, additional privilege, additional permissions to log in into their data center. And those specific number of people, specific number of administrators will be allowed to manage the resources onto this particular physical server. Let us say the same physical server, this is like 128 GB, like 128 CPU, 256 GB of RAM, 5 TB of disk, 5 Gbps NIC. But the public or the normal man who has already created an account onto AWS, so this particular user will not be allowed to create resources onto this data center because this is private and only limited number of users are authorized to log in and to manage this server. Are we clear with that?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Now, let us say today, okay, this is looking really empty, guys. Let me copy and paste it here. Yes, okay. So now, guys, there is a requirement. And the requirement here is that the particular data center which was being used basically, so due to some reason, maybe like due to expansion, due to high availability, and due to maybe any other reason, right now the organization has decided to move all the resources which are running in private data center to cloud. Now we know what is cloud computing, right? So the organization has decided to move all the resources which are running into on-prem data center to cloud computing environment. Now what would happen, guys? So there will be a situation wherein like couple of components will be running here and couple of components will migrate to this particular place, because we cannot shift left. Like today we are running all the things in private data center or in like private cloud, and tomorrow we started using in public cloud. So there will be a phase known as migration, right, guys? So we will have to, like, migration itself has different phase, like discovery phase, like what all type of applications are running, how many microservices are there, how many databases are there, what are size of individual databases, how many virtual machines are running in your private cloud, what are the particular capacity of these virtual machines, like how many CPU does each machine have, how much amount of RAM is allocated to individual machines. Then after, like how much resources utilization is happening over here, like that way. So this is known as discovery phase, right? Then after it will be decided like how many services are supposed to be migrated, how many services can be dumped. So we will discuss these details at the time of like migration strategy planning and others in coming sessions. But for now, there will be a time when you guys have decided that we need to migrate the resources from here to here, right, guys? So what would happen? So there will be a situation, couple of resources are running in AWS and couple of resources are still left here in on-prem data center. Private cloud, it can also be known as on-prem data center, right, guys? So when couple of resources are running here and remaining resources are running here, so this particular environment is known as hybrid cloud. So guys, are we aware of now what is hybrid cloud? When an organization is not only consuming one platform, whether on-prem or whether cloud, but this particular maybe a permanent solution or maybe temporary solution. But yes, guys, we need to be very, very sure of it, that when an organization is using cloud as well as on-prem data center, so this topology is known as hybrid cloud. Are we clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Any question so far?
One question, sir. Means suppose if some unauthorized transaction happened with my account. So I called the HDFC customer care. I told them the account number and complete detail displayed at their screen. So at that time, they fetching those record from the private cloud, right?
Right.
Is this right? Okay. Means we cannot access those. Every other user can't access all those detail, but we can access our individual account only. So it is a combination of example of hybrid cloud, right?
No, it is not combination of like hybrid cloud. It is combination of the authorization. It is the example of authorization. For example, there is a particular manager in an organization, such as this is a manager. Let us place this manager here. Right now, this manager has 2 team leads. This one and let us say this one. There are 2 team leads. Now each team lead has like 2 or maybe 3 subordinates. This is an ideal like hierarchy of an organization. Like every team lead may have 3 associates, including 1 junior or maybe 1 senior and 2 junior, right? So that way. So now what would happen if I give you a practical example? So what is going to happen? So the manager will be able to see each and everything which is held by these 2 team leads, right? For example, let's talk about salary package. So this manager will be able to see the salary package of these 2 employees, because these two team leads are direct report to manager, right? Now these 3 are direct reporting to this particular team lead. These 3 are reporting directly to this team lead. So every reporting manager will be able to see the particular salary structure of like their underlying resources, right? But yes, what would happen? These users will not be able to see the salary slip of one another until unless they show it in a physical manner. So there is a logical segregation of roles and responsibility that a senior can check the salary of others. The same way, one account holder, like one customer of HDFC Bank, maybe ICICI Bank, maybe Axis Bank, will not be authorized to check balance of any other user. But yes, now this is a particular customer care representative. This customer care representative has access to all users' data. Are we clear with this? That is why we are not able to see the resources of other users. We are not able to see the statements of other users. But yes, these can. The same way, this is known as like roles and responsibility. Are we clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Good. Yes, sir. So this is a section of authorization that you're explaining. It is not an hybrid cloud, right?
No, it is not hybrid cloud. So there is a particular component known as either Finacle or either FlexCube. These are the 2 CBS system, core banking system, which are used in most of the banks.
Okay.
Either Finacle or FlexCube. If it is Finacle, it is of IBM, and if it is FlexCube, it is of Oracle.
Right, sir. Right.
Okay. So are we clear so far, guys? So now the very next component here is what we are going to discuss. So there are 3 types of services which are provided by any cloud service provider, such as there are 3 different models or like models of providing cloud services to customers. First of all, it is known as IaaS or IaaS, infrastructure as service. Second is known as PaaS, platform as service, and third one is known as SaaS, software as service. So guys, is there anyone who would like to say something on this? Who would like to explain something on this? What is infrastructure as service? What is platform as service? And what is software as service? Anyone would like to say anything would be appreciated.
Software as a service are like means we are using directly the app. We doesn't have information about the resources on which platform they are running. We directly use the services like Google Drive.
So you are talking about like IaaS or SaaS?
SaaS, software as a service.
Great.
In IaaS, like infrastructure as a service, AWS provides us the infrastructure only, and we can deploy our application over that infrastructure.
Okay, great. Sounds good.
And platform as a service.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Platform as a service, I can say, is a cloud service provider will provide me a ready-made platform to develop my application. So this is basically used by developers. So whatever infra or whatever requirement of OS I need in order to develop a application, that is already provided by cloud. I do not have to care about any operating system, which operating system I have to use or what infra I need. So that is already provided by cloud. So that is a platform which we get from cloud.
Great. Sounds really interesting. Any other one would like to add anything? Okay, Snehal. So this was something like you explained really in technical way, right? So can you give some sort of example as well? That would help.
For example, a software developer will
Databases, sir.
yes.
OpenShift is an example of a platform as a service. Means, I think, I'm not sure.
Caught. Okay, not a problem. Let me come on to it. You guys tried very well, but yes, you are just near to it. So let me give another example here. So the level of knowledge which you have, that will decide whether it is platform as a service or it is software as a service. Such as, now there is a requirement coming from developer side, and the developer says that I need an operating system that should contain Red Hat platform inside it, like Red Hat operating system I need. On the top of it, I would want that at least 4 CPU and 8 GB of RAM should be allocated. The software which we are going to manage, so that will require at least 250 GB of disk, along with a particular network interface card, NIC card, or you can call that LAN card, which supports at least 1 Gbps network speed. Right? So what do you know? You know about the particular operating system, amount of RAM, CPU, network, disk, etc. Then after the particular software which you are going to install inside it, the number of users which are created on this operating system, who all can access the particular server, what are the particular port numbers where user can access, where from this particular is supposed to be accessible, does this have public IP address, does this have private IP address, is it associated behind a load balancer? Everything is known to you, right? So that is known as IaaS. Example, EC2 machine, elastic cloud compute, wherein you know each and everything. Let us say that if we have to create EC2 machine, obviously guys, I'm not going to tell you a lot in detail, but yes, just for your consent, just for your information, that how do we know these things, right? So first of all, if we try to create an instance here, so what would happen? First of all, we will have to select an operating system. We will hit launch instance. Forget about this, that what I'm doing. Just see the level of information we have. So first of all, there are different type of images available of operating system. I will have to select that. Yes, Red Hat I have selected. Right. Then after second thing, the hardware template. So it consists of multiple things, such as like what is the hardware type? 1 CPU, 1 GB of RAM, EBS supported, right? Elastic block storage supported, network performance. So guys, if you see here, based on network performance, like up to 10 gig, 10 gig, 25 gig. So these are the particular network speed. So based on your requirement, guys, you will have to select this type of machine over here. Maybe up to 50 gig you can get, up to 100 gig you can get. Right, guys? Up to 100 Gbps you can get. And obviously, these sort of machines are especially used in case of machine learning. Whenever you are working with ML, these are known as HPC, high performance computing, right? And the particular type of adapters or the LAN card which are associated, these are known as EFA, elastic fabric adapter, right, guys? So what we have seen here is like we have seen like how to select CPU, RAM, disk, and the particular network performance. Then after we will have to see like, okay, like how many instances we want to create. Then after storage, whether you like to attach 10 GB or maybe 100 GB. Then after you will have to define a name, for example, name like demo, whatever you want. Then where from will it be accessible? You can select it. Let us say that all traffic, like whosoever wants to connect the server from wherever the person is allowed to do so. Just hit review and launch and you are good to create EC2 machine. Although I am not going to create it, but just I wanted to show you that the level of information which you have that decides that whether the infrastructure which you are going to use is an example of IaaS or PaaS. Clear, guys?
So that means we are able to decide the infrastructure according to us.
Yes, you have complete freedom of selecting infrastructure as per your requirement. For example, you are not comfortable with Red Hat. You would like to work with CentOS, Community Enterprise Operating System. Maybe you do not want to work with CentOS. You can easily select Ubuntu or whatever, maybe Fedora, Nopix, SUSE, Debian, or like whatever. I do not want to name any individual operating system, but yes, you are free to use any flavor of it, any version of it, whatever you want. You have complete freedom of it. Great. So what next, guys? The next component here is PaaS, the level of information which you have that will decide. For example, you are going to select a database. So what happens? So in that particular case, guys, when a developer generates a requirement, so Isneha was like telling, right? When a developer is there and developer develops generates a requirement. So developer says, I want to have a database MySQL 8.02, for example. So have you ever heard the developer is saying that I would consume this database only in that condition if this is installed on Windows or if it is installed on Linux? And let us say if it is Linux, then you need to ensure that this is installed on the top of Ubuntu itself. If this is installed on Red Hat, I will not consume it. It is not like that. So end of the day, when is the requirement going to be fulfilled of a developer? When the developer gets a database which is running with MySQL DB engine, the version is 8.02. That is it. Now the developer will say, okay, create a user for me inside database in order to access some tables, in order to update, alter, delete, and to execute these sort of queries. But the developer is never going to ask you a question. Okay, can you tell me like how many users are created on the operating system where this database is created? Are we clear with that, guys? A developer is never going to ask you a question that share me a list of users who are created or who are able to manage this database. Developer will have to do the particular configuration inside database only, not on the server where database is installed. SaaS is another example of it, such as when we are talking about that we have no information, we know very well, like let us say, for example, that you are going to go somewhere, right? You hire an Uber cab, driver comes to your doorstep, you get into car, you travel for a while, you reach your destination, you set off from the car, and that is it. You pay off. Do you know what is the model of that car? Like when it was purchased, whether it was like on down payment, it was on like installment, it is on loan, or it is like cash car. Whether the driver who is driving that car is owner of that car, or whether the particular person is driver only. Do you know anything about that? Yes, guys. Do we ever try to get that sort of detail?
No, sir.
No. Why is that so? Because that is an example of SaaS, software as a service. If we talk about like in technologies, for example, I guess each of us has one Gmail account for sure. Each one of us has a Gmail account for sure, right? Okay, now what is going to happen? So let us see if I ask you that on which operating system Gmail is working. It is Linux or Windows? No idea?
We don't have, no idea. Yeah.
Okay, so if I have to ask, okay, then how much storage does Gmail has? No idea. How many data centers are being consumed in order to run Gmail services? No idea. Moreover, We do not have any idea about this, but we know only one thing, that there is an interface. If we log into it, then we are going to enter our email address, and after that we shall be able to see. We are going to be able to see the emails over there, right? We need not to worry about that, why it is going to go down, how they are ensuring that that all the Gmail services are up and running, why the emails of of a person will not get lost, how they are segregating that individual users should be able to see the like to access their own Gmail drive, on photos. Everything is isolated. Do we actually know like how they are managing it? No. What do we know? That there is a portal known as gmail.com. We log into it, we access our emails, photos, Google Drive documents, maybe like other components we access. The same way, there are multiple services on AWS platform as well, such as we have SNS, we have SES, right? A lot of services are there where we have nothing to do with the backend environment, but yes, we have only one thing to perform, that whenever we want, we can consume the services irrespective of knowing like how AWS, like Amazon Web Services, is going to manage those services in background. That's an example of SaaS. Now, if you want to see this in picturized way, so let me like show you some images as well, which are available over internet. IaaS versus PaaS versus SaaS. I'll hit images here. Obviously, I'm going to see some sort of images. So guys, multiple images are there. So whatever you want, so you can open it in new tab.
So sir, it is like digging deep as a service. For example, for a normal user, he will be only concerned with SaaS, like the Uber, Flipkart, and everything. But as the things gets more technical, we dig more deep. Like for example, for a more technical person, PaaS will be more significant. For the developers, IaaS will be more significant, because he has to choose what kind of infrastructure that he has to use, right? Am I right, sir?
Yes, you are right. Okay,
So,
so guys,
okay.
see, like if it is on-prem data center, then everything you manage. The particular, like this is known as blue color and this is orange. So I do not have a lot of information about the color combination. So I usually call it blue, and it is known as orange for me, no others. So the particular things which are written in blue, so these are managed by us, right? So it is on-prem. So like from networking to storage to server to virtualization, operating system, middleware, runtime, data application, everything is managed by us. If it is IaaS, so networking, storage, servers, and virtualization will be managed by service provider, right? OS, like it is going to be Red Hat or CentOS, or like something like middleware, runtime, data application, this will be managed by us. Like you are going to manage that, and this is going to be managed by your CSP, cloud service provider. Same thing goes with PaaS. So data and application you are going to manage. So for example, if there is a requirement to upgrade the version of MySQL, so you are not going to be responsible for it. You will just click on an interface that we want this version of software, they will do it for you, right? In case of SaaS, you do not manage anything, everything is managed by them. And moreover, guys, the cost goes like this. So SaaS softwares are really chargeable. These are less chargeable, and these are like least chargeable, because over here things are managed by you. So in this particular case, like in case of PaaS, like operating system, middleware, runtime, everything, for example, like patching, upgradation, downtime management, everything like their admins are managing over here. That is why these are a little highly chargeable. Over here, everything is managed by them, so this will be a little more costly. So guys, I hope that we are clear with this. Any questions so far? If you have, I would love to answer.
So just a simple question. In simple words, what does runtime and middleware mean?
So runtime means the particular software configuration which you have, and middleware means, let us say, the kind of software which you are using on this, such as you are using JBoss, you are using WebLogic, you are using WebSphere, and like runtime, for example, you are using Java, you are using JRE, that sort of software.
Okay, sir.
Sir, EC2 is example of IaaS, right?
Yes, because you know like most of information about it.
Yes, means I had one more service, like I don't know much about it, like Lambda. When we are using, we are not defining any, so it is kind of
It is
platform as
PaaS.
a service, or
It is platform as a service, because you have to decide if you go in case of Lambda. So in case of Lambda, you will have to define like what platform you're going to use. For example, it is going to work for you under PHP, under Node, under React, like what sort of function you are going to define here. It is going to manage your AWS services, or maybe like some sort of additional execution it will be performing for you. So if you create a function, it will ask you a lot of things over here. For example, like you are going to write it from scratch, you are going to use a particular blueprint, or maybe you want to execute any container space over here. So these are the particular questions which you will have to define over here, right? So for example, if you author from scratch, you will have to define a function name, then you will have to select a platform like it is Ruby, Java, Go, .NET, Python, or like Bootstrap script you are going to write, like architecture, everything you are going to define here. So this is sort of like platform as service.
okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question, guys?
And EC2 will be the infrastructure as a service, correct? No?
Correct, 100%.
Okay.
Because over there, you know about your operating system and everything, you know, right?
Right. Yes.
Sir, what about Grafana, sir? On what section it will fall?
So Grafana, if you are using, okay, let us say if it is cloud and you find it here, Grafana. Amazon Grafana, fully managed service for interactive data visualization and dashboarding. So guys, this is going to work as, okay, let us see. Let us try to create it first. Then you will tell.
Should be platform as a service or same like Lambda?
First of all, this is not available in all the regions. Only a couple of regions are there. Let us see. So we are going to create a workspace. So guys, just tell me one thing, that are you going to know like what operating system is managing it?
No.
Are you going to know like what version of Grafana is being used?
No, sir.
Are you going to know like how many administrators are there, or how many other Grafanas are running on the same server where your Grafana is going to be created?
No, sir.
So based on that terminology, so what do you think? It is platform as a service or software as a service?
Software as a service.
Well said. Thank you.
Sir.
So rather than me answering the question, so you are there to answer, right?
Sir, how it could be software as a service?
Because we do not know anything about it. Like we know Gmail, we know Grafana.
But we are creating it now.
So the same way that we have to create our Gmail account before accessing it. We have to provide a lot of details while, okay, whenever you create your Gmail account, you have to provide your username, your unique email address, your phone number in order to go for verification. Everything you will have to provide, right?
Yeah, sir. Understood.
Yeah. So same way, like the particular piece of information which you are going to provide over here. So if you create a workspace, you will provide a workspace name, let us say demo. Did you select an operating system? If you go next, it will ask you like, how would you like to sign in? Maybe like using AWS SSO single sign, or maybe SAML. Security assertion markup language you are going to use. It is going to be like managed type. It is going to be service managed or customer managed. So over here there are two options. So if you would go for like customer managed, you will have to assign some additional IAM role, identity and access management role. You will have to provide in order to manage this Grafana dashboard. Over here, this service managed, go for it. Let us say it is AWS SSO single sign-on.
So, sir, it is like that you have we have distributed the architecture of services into three parts.
Right.
Right. It's just okay, sir. I've understood correctly. Yeah.
So this is going to be your current account, or maybe like you have different organization where from you would like to manage it. Whatever services you are going to manage over here. Hit next and create workspace. So guys, if you see, so did you select anywhere like what version of Grafana you are going to use? Did you get a chance to like select operating system like version of Grafana?
No.
No? And when you did not get anything, so what you are doing over here, okay, AAS versus PaaS versus SaaS. Select image, select anyone. So are you managing data here, like on what particular platform or on what particular workspace your Grafana database data will be stored? Did you select the application version number? Are you worried about whether the operating system is patched or not? What sort of virtualization is being used there? You did not manage anything, right? So what is what is it? Is it example of IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS? Very simple calculation, guys.
Yes, sir.
The piece of information which you hold, if you have a lot of information, it is IaaS. If you have middle level of information, it is PaaS. If you do not know anything, it is SaaS.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So guys, that is it for today. I just wanted to walk you through like a couple of things here. So any feedback for the session, guys, or like if you would like to ask any questions, any sort of confusion if you have, I would like to clarify that. Any feedback for the session would be really helpful for me to improve myself. Yes, guys.
So one question I have a confusion about hybrid cloud. In what scenarios like a company will go for a hybrid? Like I'm not sure about it. Why would a company go for a hybrid, like a private and a public? In what case?
Okay. So first of all, we need to understand that when an organization is in growing phase, that is like growth is really fast, right? So there are some extent, let us say the data is increasing with a really high pace. If you talk about today's scenario, so since the like Ukraine and Rus war has begun, so like the electronic chips are really running short. The particular servers where like chips from China was being imported, from like chips from like different like geographical regions were being imported in order to assemble a like physical server. So these are running really short. Storage is not available. Right? Computers are not available. People are looking to purchase, but yes, like there is a long queue in order to purchase physical hardware. As of today, I'm talking about, right? So why is that so? Because when you are running your organization on a on-prem data center and you are running out of space, you are running out of compute power, you need to add more resources to your organization. So the particular situation is you are not having proper resources. So let us say if you are if you have to be compliant with any like regulatory authority, for example, you are working in a fintech organization, you are working maybe in some sort of like healthcare organization, so at least for 10 years you will have to like store every sort of transaction log, right? You are running out of space, so what will you do? You will have to take additional approval to store the logs of your application at least on the cloud environment. So what will you do? You will integrate one S3 bucket with your on-prem like infrastructure, and you will start pushing the logs from your backup server to S3 bucket. At least till that time, by the time you are going to have additional resources available in your data center. So once your logs are kept inside your AWS and your applications are running in on-prem data center. So even this is an example of hybrid cloud, because where your logs are getting stored, AWS cloud, and where your applications are running on-prem. For example, if a web server requires more compute power, what will you do? Your application servers, maybe your middle layer application. For example, it could be your WebLogic, it could be your JBoss, it could be your WebSphere, or maybe any other, maybe Magento, it could be. So these are running on your on-prem data center. But let us say if it is Nginx or Apache, these web servers are running on AWS. Now, in order to like have a particular communication between on-prem and cloud, you will have to set up VPN connection. Maybe if you are not going to use VPN, dedicated VPN, you can ask AWS to help you to set up AWS Direct Connect connection, DCC, which is known as, right? So once you have connection enabled, so whenever there is going to like some request is going to come onto your Nginx, based on your routing configuration, that will be forwarded to your on-prem application server. So now where your application servers are running?
On
AWS, that is cloud. And where your application server and database servers are running, that is on-prem data center. So this situation, this network topology is known as hybrid cloud. It is not because of migration only, but sort of resource crunch. For example, if there is a sudden spike in traffic, you are not able to handle it on on-prem data center. So you may have to switch some of your traffic immediately to cloud computing environment, or like to let us say to AWS. I hope I make the point clear.
Oh, yes, yes, no. Thank you.
Any other question, guys?
No.
So guys, now it is time for feedback for today's session. If you have any feedback, then I would love to hear that. I would be glad to hear my feedback. Yes, guys.
Actually, it was a great session. Like
Yeah, it was a great
I
session.
got more information in depth about this. Actually, I do have some misconception, and I took that knowledge in I can say wrong manner. But today I got the correct. Thank you.
Always.
So this has been the first time I got exposed to AWS, and I'm just understood whatever you said clearly.
So, buddy, like, thank you for your words that you understood it. So, whatever terminology I have spoken here, so I have tried to explain every single thing, because as I told earlier as well, that I consider that the guys who are joining this particular lesson, they do not know anything about cloud computing environment. Maybe you might have got a chance to study a couple of topics on the like some other like profile on other YouTube channels, or maybe like you might be working as a professional in your organization. But sometimes what happens, that we do not focus on the things which what we are doing. Like we are clicking on any option, like, but why we are doing it? Can it be done in some other way as well? So that sort of thing definitely we discuss here. Yes, guys. Any other one who would like to share any feedback?
So one question I would like to ask you: how much Linux portion would be covered in this session?
So, buddy, if you talk about Linux, so a lot of Linux will definitely not be covered here. But yes, if you talk about like how much we are going to cover, so like your software installation, I will be discussing about. Let us say if it is going to be your, let us say how do we log into a server, and basic troubleshooting sort of stuff of Linux operating system, we will definitely cover. So guys, the particular list of topics I have just shared with you in chat, so as everyone who is not aware of like what we are going to do and what we are going to study, so that is available in your chat box. You can see it. So if you would like to go through it once again, so guys, these are the particular list of topics which we are going to discuss. Like we are going to discuss here like EC2 completely, EBS, ELB, AutoScaling, Elastic BeanStalk, S3 and Glacier. We are going to discuss about IAM, RDS, EFS, CloudTrail, CloudWatch, Athena, config, like cost explorer. We are going to discuss compute optimizer, trusted advisor, SNS, SES, VPC, Route 53, certificate manager, OpsWorks, introduction to microservice and Lambda. Why I have mentioned introduction part? Reason being, because we need a physical data center in order to perform migration activities, right? And that's what we do not have. ECS, EKS, CloudFront, and CloudFormation. These are the topics which we are going to cover within this particular session. Yes, like some topics, let us say we are talking about your CloudFormation, CloudFront, these will be up to associate level, but the topics which are going to be like EC2, EBS, ELB, AutoScaling, S3, IAM, your EFS, your compute optimizer, VPC, Route 53, certificate manager, these will be up to professional level, because these are the main components which are really required in order to work within an organization. So the major topics will be covered up to professional level, and the topics which are not that much important, we will cover for associate level. Right, guys? The class timing is going to be 9 to 12 from next week onwards.
So what would be the duration, sir?
So duration is going to be around 2 months. because it is going to be on weekends.
Right.
3 hours Saturday, 3 hours Sunday. And obviously a 15-minute power break as well. Because I know the concentration for 3 hours, I can speak even for a complete day, but I know you guys like being in corporate, so we do not usually sit onto a seat for more than 2 hours regularly. We need breaks.
Yes, sir.